We thank our elders who watch over us. We praise Mayclar, whose eye lights our hunting. We salute our quarry for making the chase sweet. Thanks, praise, salutations. We are the folk, and tonight we speak in one voice of the deeds of all. We are the folk. In the days of the earth's youth, when some of the firsts were still seen in these fields, Queen Satine, granddaughter of Fela Sky Dancer, ruled in the court of Harar. And she was a good queen. Her paw was as just in aid of her folk as her claw was swift to harm for her enemies. Her son and co-regent was Prince NINEBIRDS. He was a huge cat, mighty in battle, swift to anger, and swollen in pride for all his youthful years. At his naming, the story had been told of how, as a kitten, he had slain a branch full of starlings with one blow of his claw. So NINEBIRDS he was named, and the fame of his strength and his deeds stretched far. It had been many, many summers since the death of White Wind, and none living in the court at this time had ever seen any of the first. Firefoot had been wandering in the wild for generations, and many thought of him dead or gone to join his father and grandmother in the sky. As stories of NINEBIRDS' strength and bravery began to run from mouth to ear among the folk, and as NINEBIRDS began to listen to those ignoble ones who always cling to the great folk, he began to see in himself the greatness of the firstborn. One day it was told throughout the world forest that NINEBIRDS was no longer content to be Prince Regent at his mother's side. A meeting was declared to which all the folk were to come from far and wide for feasting, hunting and games, and at this meeting he would assume the mantle of Harar, which Tangalore Firefoot had declared sacrosanct but for the firstborn, and NINEBIRDS would declare himself King of Cats. And so came the day, and all the folk gathered at the court. While all cavorted and danced and sang, NINEBIRDS sunned his great body and looked on. Then he stood and spoke. I, NINEBIRDS, by right of blood and claw, stand before you today to assume the mantle of kingship, which has gone long unfilled. If no cat has any reason why I should not take upon myself this ancient burden. At that moment there was a noise in the crowd, and a very old cat stood up. His fur was shot all over with grey, especially about his legs and paws, and his muzzle was snow white. You assume the mantle by right of blood and claw, Prince NINEBIRDS? Questioned the old cat. I do, answered the great prince. By what right of blood do you claim the kingship? Queried the old white whisker. By blood of Fela Sky Dancer that runs in me, you toothless old squeaker friend, rejoined NINEBIRDS hotly, and rose from where he lay. All the gathered folk whispered excitedly as NINEBIRDS walked to the Vakazme, the tree-root seat sacred to the firstborn. Before all the assembled folk, NINEBIRDS lifted his long tail and scored the Vakazme with his hunt mark. There was more excited whispering, and the old cat tottered forward. O Prince, who would be the King of Cats, said the ancient one. Perhaps by blood you have some claim, but what of claw? Will you fight in single combat for the mantle? Of course, said NINEBIRDS laughing. And who will oppose me? I will, said the old one simply. All the folk hissed in surprise and arched their backs, but NINEBIRDS only laughed again. Go home, old fellow, and wrestle with beetles, said he. I will not fight with you. The King of Cats can be no coward, said the old cat. At that NINEBIRDS cried in anger and leapt forward, swinging his huge paw at the old grey muzzle. But with surprising speed, the old one leapt aside and dealt a buffet to the prince's head that addled his wits for a moment. They began to fight in earnest, and the multitude could scarcely credit the speed and courage of the old cat, who opposed such a great and fierce fighter. After a long while they closed and wrestled together, And although the prince bit at his neck, the Old One brought up his hind claws and scratched, and NINEBIRDS' fur was scattered in the air. When they broke apart, NINEBIRDS was full of surprise that this lean elder could do him such harm. "You have lost much of your pelt, O prince," said the Old One. "Will you renounce your claim?" Angered, the prince charged, and they fell again to fighting. The Old One caught the prince's tail between his teeth, and when the prince tried to turn and rend his face, the elder pulled his tail from his body. The folk hissed with astonishment and fear as NINEBIRDS wheeled bloodily around and faced the old cat once more, who was himself wounded and panting. "You have lost your fur and tail, O prince. Will you not also yield your claim?" Maddened by pain, NINEBIRDS flung himself on the Ancient One, and they wrestled, spitting and swiping, blood and tears glistening in the sun. At last the challenger wedged Prince NINEBIRD's hindquarters beneath the root of the Valkar's mane. As the dirt settled, an excited shock ran through those watching. In the last battling, quantities of white dust had been knocked free from the coat of the challenger. His muzzle was no longer grey, and his paws and legs shone the colour of flame. "You see me revealed, NINEBIRDS," he said. "I am Lord Tangalor, Firefoot, son of Harar, and it is by my command that there is no king of cats." "You are a brave cat, O prince," he continued, "but your insolence may not go unpunished." With that, Firefoot caught the scruff of the prince's neck and pulled, stretching his body and legs until they were thrice as long as a cat's are meant to be. He then pulled the prince loose from the tree root and said, "Tailless and hairless, long and ungainly have I made you. Go now, and come never more to the court of Harar, you who would have usurped his power. But this doom I lay on you, that you shall serve any member of the folk who commands you, and so shall all of your descendants, until I release your line from this bane." And with that, Lord Tangalor went away. The folk drove the misformed NINEBIRDS from their midst, calling him man, meaning out of sunshine, and he and all of his descendants went ever after on their hind legs, and do today, for man's forelegs have been stretched too far away to touch the ground. NINEBIRDS the usurper, punished by the firstborn, was the first of the big ones. They have long served the folk, making us shelter from the rain and feeding us when the hunt is bad. And if some of us now serve the disgraced man, that is another story for another meeting. We are the folk, and tonight we speak in one voice of the deeds of all. We are the folk.